everybody, this is Sarahscopic, and you're watching Traffic Musings. It's a new week, it's a new set of episodes. Yay! First off, I wanted to tell you that I forgot to introduce you guys to my editor. That's right, I have an editor. I've been calling her Editor-chan because I like to make you guys question whether I'm actually a weeaboo or not. So go ahead and say hi, Editor-chan. Sweetheart, you're creeping them out. This is not Windows 10. You are creeping them out. I'm sorry, everybody. She likes to do that sometimes. Okay, now that you know I have an editor, I can now do crazy things like this. So, remember last time when I promised you guys that I would talk about my writing experiences? Fill in a flashback, Editor-chan.
I'll try to maybe make the next episode about my writing experience if you guys are interested.
She do it? She got, okay, cool, she got it. So I guess I'll just kind of start rambling about that. As I kind of explained when I was younger, elementary school, I guess I seemed to have a bit of a knack for writing. Like I said, I wasn't great, but compared to some of my other classmates, it seemed like that, I don't know, maybe this was my kind of thing that I was decent at. While for everyone else it was art, and I was the weird one, I guess. I think it had to do with the fact that I read tons when I was younger. I was the huge bookworm. I'm actually kind of sad now because I do not read as much, not even close to as much as I used to. And I feel like a part of my identity is like gone because of it, but that's another story. Anyway, I read a lot. And with reading a lot of different types of books, I wanted to make my own stories. That was kind of my own thing. And I was very fortunate to be in a school where at least I had teachers in elementary school who really encouraged creative writing. We always had creative writing projects every year. And I remember because a lot of the students in my class hated it because they didn't know what to write. Well, for me, I always had tons of ideas. For me, the problem was trying to pick one because I always had some story I wanted to tell. So I loved those assignments. I was always looking forward to it every year in elementary school when we would do creative writing. And how I kind of realized that I was semi-different from some of the other classmates. Not just 2 miles. Thank you, GPS. Not to say that there weren't other classmates that were as great at writing. There were plenty. But when I realized I was one of the kind of a different than some of my friends, for instance, even, was whenever we wrote, we would first have to do a rough draft of our story, and then we had to do peer editing. If you guys remember peer editing, I hated peer editing, actually, because usually people didn't really care to do peer editing, and so I never actually got anything edited, because most of the kids in the class were just like, good enough. I am pausing because I'm pretty sure my GPS is gonna try to talk. You gonna try to talk? Huh? You gonna say something? No? Well, no, don't. Now you're just making me look stupid. Good job, GPS. Way to go. No? Okay, fine. So, what was I saying? They wouldn't edit it, and that was really irritating. So, but the problem was that I was always super picky about their stuff, because I was also...
In half a mile.
I knew it! I called it! Sorry, my GPS annoys me sometimes. I'm trying to tell a story. They would edit it, but not much, while I would go a little too crazy on their editing, because I was decent at spelling. Grammar, I mean, I was probably okay as the average person.
In 1/8 of a mile, continue on the current road.
I'm just gonna shut up until she stops. Or he, or it. Okay. You good? You got it? You all set? Okay. Especially since I read a lot, I kind of knew a bit more spelling than some people. Just simply, you read it, and you see it a lot, then you kind of get it. I wouldn't really get as many edits. But then I would take my stories to my teachers because, of course, elementary school, after you were done with your peer editing, you would give it to your teachers, and they would look it over. And my teachers would always mark it up to high heaven. And at first, I assumed that this meant, wow, I suck at this, basically. I didn't really know. And I kind of came to find out that what was basically happening wasn't that I was awful. It's just that my teachers, they were basically doing me a favor, if anything else, because I was passionate about it. This was something I liked to do. And so my teachers wanted me to get better at it. And so they would actually do harsher criticisms than they might have with other students' works. Not, of course, they were, of course, helping everyone. I'm sorry. I sound like I'm bragging, and I'm trying to tell a story, and I'm doing a poor job of it. But they would, I remember so much red ink, rewriting full sentences. And I would see others and they wouldn't get nearly as much. And it was just simply because they knew I took it so seriously that I wanted to know. As a result, I just kind of kept up doing it because I was getting people who liked it and everything. I still remember, I had this one story I was writing in, I think, like 3rd or 4th grade. A story I had made up in my head. And, well, it was time for creative writing, and so I decided to write this particular story. But I was very embarrassed to show this story because I thought it was weird. I don't even know if I could remember it. I just remember I had to do something with butterflies and someone becoming a queen. That's all I know. I remember sitting up in class and reading the story and feeling super embarrassed because part of the issue too is I adored fantasy. Well, I still do. I adore fantasy, but not a lot of kids my age really read a lot of fantasy unless it was Harry Potter. And I read a lot of other fantasy stories besides Harry Potter. A lot of weird ones that no one's heard of. As a result, my stories were always kind of weird. And so I remember sitting in class and trying to tell the story, and I was pausing because I was getting
2 miles to exit.
I was getting embarrassed, and my teacher, I remember she was trying to assure me that, like, no, keep going. And then I had another story I had written, which I'm not gonna have enough time, so I'll maybe say in another episode. I had another story I had tried to write, and it came with pictures that I didn't draw the pictures because, like I said, I suck at art. This was from a computer thing I can explain later. And I remember I even got a glow because I had a whole thing of like where the story was located was important and all this kind of stuff. And I had pictures that I was showing people, and it was so stupid. But people still, because we had to present our stories, I forgot to mention that. And so that's why. I don't know, as a result, I really enjoyed writing, and that was kind of what I kept doing. And one story I actually, in 2nd grade, I still remember this, we had this assembly. This group came in, and what they did was they did presentations of stories that kids wrote. And so they came into school, and they sorry, 1 second, guys. They came into school and, saying, hey guys, you are all gonna have an assignment to write a story, which we always did, so that wasn't anything new. And, and your teachers are gonna choose, every class is gonna, I think it was no, it wasn't every grade, it must have been every class. Anyway, they were gonna pick, like, top 5 stories or something, and they were going, and it was kind of going to be talked about with the teachers, and they were going to act it out because they were actors and they had props and everything. Funny enough, when I was in 2nd grade, I had forgotten about that assembly. All I knew, so they had the assembly, I was like, oh, that's cool, and then we came around my normal school day, and because I think it was like a month or something between this, and so I had forgotten about it, because then we were assigned to do a creative writing project, and we had done this like the year before, and so I didn't think anything of it, because I was thinking it was, yes, another writing project, I love these.
1 mile, exit right,
come on.
Exit 216A.
And, I may
keep left on the I-75 north.
You know what, guys? Hold on a second. I'm gonna wait till I get on 75 before I keep going. Hopefully this episode doesn't. This episode may be a little longer just because I can't really gauge the time anymore. So I apologize if this episode takes a little longer, but hopefully my happy 2nd grade story will be worth it for it. Welcome to Traffic Musings. Well, I can muse about that. The traffic sucks. End of story. Okay, that's my musing for the day. Sorry, was that loud? I'm sorry. I'm really loud sometimes. I don't mean it. Please don't hate me. Oh, come on! Let's just go!
Come on, let's just go.
Okay, I'm back. We're good now. So I was talking about the story thing. So all I knew is we were writing creative story. So the assembly people, they came. But then we were, for a month we had to write a story and we had to go through the editing process and all that kind of good stuff. So I had written a story influenced by another story I had read. Because best way to learn an artist to imitate it. There was this simple story that I shared with the class once called, I think it was called like The Dragon and the Unicorn or something. I don't know, something cheesy like that. And so I was obsessed with unicorns while my brother liked dragons. So I held on to unicorns for a while. So I made up a story about a princess who had a unicorn. And the story was extremely simple. The princess would go on adventures like every other day kind of thing. And one day she and her unicorn went on some adventure, but her unicorn fell down a hole. What a basic plot! And the princess had to go, I think is the unicorn. I forget who fell into the hole. One of them fell into the hole. And so the other one had to go get help and had to get all like the animals of the forest, because they were in some forest that they had never been in before. And they went to get help and then they were fine and it was all happy ever after. I think the point of the project was actually to write a sort of fantasy story, or like it definitely had to be fiction. That was the thing. And so the problem was that back then I thought fiction meant fantasy, basically. I didn't really think of realistic fiction back then. So so that was my story. And I remember being told something about that my story was chosen for something, and I didn't really know what. I think you can see where this is going. There was another kid in the class who, he's actually a decent friend of mine. We only talk as much as we used to, but we're still friends. And his story was also, I think, in the semifinals for it, but I think because we were in the same class, but I think mine won or something. So all I remember is that, so the assembly came back, and I didn't really know what was going on. And then they explained, and I went, oh, okay, cool, the stories thing. And then I was the first one, and so I got to sit on this director's chair while they did a reenactment of my story, and it was the greatest thing. I got to sit there, and they had to do all the character impressions and stuff like that, and it was so funny. The coolest part about it was my mother, she worked a lot in the school, and so she knew about this. My teacher, I think, had told her ahead of time. So my mom got to get my grandma, who I'll probably do an episode about her someday. My grandma, she used to be a creative writing teacher. Creative writing was her huge thing. She's passed away since then, but she back then she came to see my story be enacted. It was a surprise. So that was super awesome. And I would say that experience, probably more than anything else, well, there's other things, but that experience really jump-started my love of writing and me continuing to kind of semi-pursue it, not as seriously, but enjoy it, so to speak. Anyway, this is starting to get overtime. I gotta get going. Maybe I'll talk more about my writing in the next episode. We'll see what happens. Maybe we'll see. So thanks you guys for I can't speak. Thank you guys for watching, and hopefully I'll see you next video. Bye.